We'll be reading the starting chapter 19 of this book, The Breakdown in Health and a Change for Swami Akhandananda. I should know this, but this is 1917, and how old was he? When was he born? I don't think... 1864, I see, but... 1865. No. 1865 or 66. So in 1917, he's... 50-some years old. 51. But we have seen what kind of a life he has lived during that 51 years. He was walking, I think, barefoot the length of India into the Himalayas, spent time up there, went to jail in Nepal, I believe, Nepal or Tibet, and now in his 50s, The Breakdown in Health and a Change. So we're on page 220. In 1917, after the autumnal pujas were over, an epidemic of influenza struck the country. Most of the members of the ashram were down with it, including Swami Akhandananda. When the news reached Swami Brahmananda and Swami Sardananda, they immediately sent 2 brahmacharis to Sargachi. Oh, we read that one paragraph. The brahmacharis arrived at Sargachi station after midnight, since there were no porters available at that hour, and as they were unacquainted with the place, it was with some difficulty that they reached the ashram. They found the door of Swami Akhandananda's room open. At first, he did not recognize them in the dim light, but when they removed their turbans and set aside their staves, he recognized them and learned of the reason for their coming. In the morning, the 2 set to work cleaning and tidying the rooms. The patient's bedding was sunned while they prepared the diet. One of the brahmacharis went to Burhanpur to fetch a physician and medicine. He found the town doctors were very busy, but at last one was found, who hastened to the ashram to attend the patients. All of them soon recovered, with the exception of Swami Akhandananda, who showed no signs of improvement. Fruits were not always available, nor would he take them unless the others had had their share. With the opening of the college after the puja holidays, a familiar student visited the ashram and found Swami Akhandananda still bedridden and quite feeble. However, he received the boy affectionately and discussed with him many of his questions about spiritual life. At the end of the conversation, he said, "Do you know what liberation means? Now you are living only in that body of yours. You are troubled with all that goes wrong with it. For its little pleasure, what will you not do? But with liberation, you find yourself in all bodies, feeling the sorrows of all beings and trying to make all happy." These few words, so full of strength and wisdom, made a great impression on the young man's mind and brought about a great change in his life. 2 months passed, but there was no remission of the Swami's fever, which would rise high during the night. Everyone was anxious about him, but the childlike Swami refused all medicine. When pressed, he said, "What will medicine do? My stomach is coated with the deposits of so many quinine tablets, like the silt in the river Ganga." The remark almost caused the attendant to burst into laughter, but in a firm voice, as if addressing a child, he said, "You We'll see how we clear silt in the Ganga and make it flow again." The Swami appreciated the attitude of the two attendants and enjoyed the pun on his name, but he continued to remain quite indifferent to his body. Feeling that they were unable to do anything more, the attendants wrote to Swami Akhandananda, who sent this reply: "I am so sorry to get your letters. Just show this letter to Gangadhar. If, even after this, he means to commit suicide in this manner, we are helpless. Does he want to take advantage of my helplessness and thus spurn my affection in this way?" When the letter was handed to Swami Akhandananda, he gave a start. After reading it, he was still for a while and then said, "You are really mischievous boys to have informed Sarat Maharaj of everything. Why did you do so?" After a long silence, he added, "Let their will be done. Henceforth, I shall not object to anything." Medical treatment reduced the Swami's temperature for a short time, but it rose again because of his weakened condition. The two attendants nursed him day and night. When he was awake at night, he would talk to them. They would then adopt various means to induce him to sleep, but to no avail. However, his words would give the brahmacharis new insight into his mind, and they would be charmed. Once his attendant said to him, "What sort of place is this for which you should have so much care, anxiety, and ill health? It is like an abode of death. The news that comes from here is only of sorrow. No one likes to stay here. You too are wasting away with illnesses. Come to Calcutta. We shall stay there and build your orphanage into a big institution." "My boy," the Swami replied with a smile, "you may remain where there is only peace and happiness. I only desire that I may go wherever there are people in sorrow and suffering, in pain and distress, where there are famines and epidemics, that I may be of service. May the Lord send me to such places in every birth. I do not crave for the happiness of your heaven." One night, although he was very feeble, he sat bolt upright. There was a divine glow on his face, and he began to give expression to his feeling thus: "Here I fulfill my vow to lay down my life. Are you aware that it was here that the sun of Britain's fortune had its rise? It is from the battlefield of Plassey that India's shackles began to spread through Bihar and Orissa, then gradually to Uttar Pradesh and the Punjab and beyond. It was here that I was inspired first with Swamiji's ideas, that the awakening of the villages must take place here. From here would come brahmacharis, knowers of the Vedas, and fearless servants of the country. Who would help to raise it up? This is the vow I have taken, and let me at least die in the attempt." 2 months had passed without any improvement. Swami Akhandananda then had Swami Akhandananda brought to Balaram Babu's house in Calcutta. Bipin Ghosh, an eminent physician, assumed responsibility for his treatment. It was a case of malignant malaria. The Swami was put on a strict regimen of only sago for 2 months. That's tapioca. Tea, his favorite beverage, was not allowed, as his liver had suffered damage. Lemon and water served as a substitute. During this time, the novelist Sarat Chandra Chattopadhyaya heard about the Swami from his younger brother, Swami Vivekananda. And he came to see him at Balaram Babu's house. On climbing the stairs, he first met Swami Brahmananda, who showed him into the adjoining room in which Swami Akhandananda was staying. On meeting the Swami, Sarat Babu said to him, "I have come not to see a sadhu or a sannyasin. I have heard that you are a lover of man. You enter the huts of poor farmers and serve and teach them. So I have come to pay you my respects. I have written a few books, a few stories. the themes of which are based on your own ideals of service. Later, Sharat Babu sent many of his books to Swami Akhandananda at the Sargachi ashram. The Swami's health improved while he was at Balaram Babu's house. It was already April 1918, and he was eager to return to Sargachi. But Swami Brahmananda kept detaining him on some pretext or other, and at times enjoyed a practical joke at his expense. On the morning Swami Akhandananda was to leave for Sargachi, inauspicious objects and pictures were found conspicuously placed here and there to catch his attention. The children of Balaram Babu's house were tutored to make ominous signs and noises near him. When he understood that Swami Brahmananda was behind it all, he said, "Why are you teaching these things to the children? The transcendental love of these childlike saints is a rare phenomenon in the world, and their ways, too, are beyond the comprehension of ordinary men." In the middle of 1918, Swami Akhandananda returned to Sargachi, with a new brahmacharan attending him. This brought the number of brahmacharans in the ashram to 6. With Swami Vedananda assisting, the work continued smoothly. Swami Akhandananda had additional time for study and teaching. In the afternoons, he held a class on the Bhagavad Gita for the brahmacharans, and when he was absent, Swami Vandananda read to them from the complete works of Swami Vivekananda. On July 30, news came that Swami Premananda had left this mortal world. The Swami had once expressed the desire to visit Sargachi, but at that time there were only huts and no suitable building in which he could stay. Therefore, Swami Akhandananda had protested, saying, "Dear brother, where will you live there? Let us have a building first, and then you may come." Now, after his demise, he appeared to Swami Akhandananda in a dream and said, "See, you didn't bring me here while I was living, so now I have come." In later years, the painful memory of this dream distressed Swami Akhandananda. On the 13th day after Swami Premananda's demise, special offerings were made to Sri Ramakrishna. A photograph of Swami Premananda was beautifully decorated with flowers. Incense was burned, and a lamp was kept lighted before it. There was special chanting by the boys, while Swami Akhandananda sat immersed in meditation, tears flowing down his cheeks. After distributing the offerings, he left his seat and spent the night behind closed doors in meditation. In the small hours of the night, he had a vision in which a middle-aged motherly figure, wearing red cloth and vermilion on her forehead, said to him, beckoning with her finger, "Will you go to your brother? Then come along." As he was about to start, Swami Brahmananda clasped him in his arms and said, "Where will you go, brother? We are here with you, and you have many things to do." After this, the Swami's mind gradually returned to normal consciousness. A month later, 4 September 1918, he wrote to a devotee, "That you could understand how dear and precious Brother Babaram was to our Master is only possible through his grace. I have heard that Sri Maharaj Brahmananda wept aloud for the sake of his loving brother. I too wept for many days after I got the news. Still, the pang of separation has not left me." During 1918, there were 8 new admissions to the ashram, including a 4-year-old boy and a 2-year-old girl. The college student who frequented the ashram had joined. However, financial support from European traders diminished as many were returning to their native lands. The inmates of the ashram produced their own vegetables, and the cows yielded a satisfactory milk supply. Anything further depended on chance. At this time, the stock of rice ran short. By a strange coincidence, a lawyer of Gorabazar, arrived unexpectedly one afternoon and, wishing to help the ashram, brought 10 rupees worth of rice. In those days, it was a huge quantity. The young college student was entrusted with the task of collecting rice from Burhanpur. Remember, 1 handful a day in a little bowl, and they would go and collect it from everyone in the village. He begged from door to door, cooked his own meal of rice and potato at noon, and after collecting 1 pound, he would catch the midnight train to return to Sargachi. When the students of Burhanpur College observed his activity, they also wanted to help. They invited Swami Akhandananda to their hostel, where a new plan was organized. Each house was given a bowl in which to keep a handful of rice both morning and evening. On Sundays, the students collected the rice. Remarking on the first student's contribution, the Swami said, "Every noble work is based on sacrifice. It is this young sacrifice that gave others the courage to come forward." Swami Adbhutananda, Latu Maharaj, passed away at this time, and Swami Akhandananda gave a feast of mangoes in his holy memory. Cartloads of the fruits used to pass along the road by the ashram. So after tasting several varieties, the Swami found 1 cartload which satisfied him. He purchased it and had the fruits distributed among all the residents. When the non-cooperation movement of Mahatma Gandhi began in the middle of 1920, many youths came to Sargachi seeking Swami Akhandananda's counsel. He advised them not to join any political movement, but to work silently in the service of the country, so that education might be spread among the people. Ultimately, the country would thus regain its economic independence. Swami Akhandananda was ever occupied with the thought of awakening the people to their spiritual heritage. He passed many sleepless nights thinking over it. Looking at the thatched huts of a distant village one midnight, he said to his attendant, look at the sleeping masses, but they will awaken in time to come. The weaving section of the ashram was operating again. This time under the supervision of Swami Akhandananda, an expert. Cotton was grown in the ashram land. The members were then spinning their own thread and weaving cloth for shirts, dhotis, and other necessities. Gandhiji's charaka, spinning wheel movement, was just getting underway. In 1897, at the Shibnagar ashram, Swami Akhandananda had planted cotton and installed a loom. With tears in his eyes, he could weave only a few inches of cloth. One day in 1920, Swami Akhandananda presented him with a roll of cloth woven at the ashram. Swami Akhandananda spoke with great feeling. This homespun cloth symbolizes something I have treasured in my heart for a long time. I feel very grateful to Gandhiji for having popularized it. Whenever the Swami heard of the sorrows and sufferings of people under tyranny or oppression, he was deeply moved. He would try to get them redressed, or at least to make known his sympathies. One of his concerns was about the way in which financial affairs of many Hindu temples was conducted. A series of articles was published in the daily Basumati, giving his opinions under the caption, "My Mind Speaks." He wrote, "There should be some control over the misuse of the vast wealth stored in both monasteries and temples in India." The 4th of Shravana in the Bengali year 1327, that's 20 July 1920, will remain forever a day of mourning. A telegram arrived at the ashram at 7 o'clock that morning with the message, at 1 o'clock a.m., the Holy Mother attained Mahasamadhi at the Udbodhan. Receiving this news, Swami Akhandananda was overwhelmed with grief. He sat motionless with a vacant gaze for the whole day. For 6 days he could not take up any of his usual activities. In December, the Holy Mother's birth anniversary fell on the 7th day of the dark lunar fortnight. A grand festival and worship was organized, which lasted the whole week. It was held under Swami Akhandananda's favorite banyan tree near the big square pond, nearly a mile from the ashram. Day and night, joyous shouts in the Mother's name, as well as sweet music, resounded through the sylvan retreat. Unfortunately, the police, under British rule, had been suspiciously watching the ashram. The young men were interrogated and their movements noted. Spies were often present. Only after a visit by the new magistrate, Mr. W.S. Eddy, in 1921, was the suspicious eye of the police diverted. A spontaneous feeling of cordiality spread up between Mr. Eddy and Swami Akhandananda at their very first meeting. At Mr. Eddy's own expense, an approach road was constructed from the highway to the ashram, which Swami Akhandananda named Eddy Road. Mr. Eddy often visited the ashram and helped the Swami in every possible way. For instance, when he heard of the exorbitant rent levied on the ashram land, he had it reduced to 50 rupees. During 1921, the district magistrate of Maimin Singh found a 10-year-old orphan boy in the street. He was deaf and dumb. The magistrate kept him at his home while searching for a suitable orphanage. Finally, he wrote to Sargachi, where the boy was admitted. The boy's name was Nimai, but he was called Haba, a common name for one of dull and feeble mind. Swami Akhandananda, however, renamed him Bit, which means wise of wit. To which the boy would respond with a smiling face. During the Durga Puja festival in 1921, almost everyone, workers and boys alike, fell ill, which meant that Swami Akhandananda, with the help of one boy, had to attend to everything. After the puja, the Swami himself became ill, and Swami Sardananda had to bring him against his will to Balaram Babu's house in Calcutta for treatment. With careful treatment, it took him 5 months to recover. He was thinking of returning to Sargachi before the end of 5 months, but Swami Brahmananda detained him by various means until February. After Swami Akhandananda returned to Sargachi, Swami Brahmananda wrote 1 or 2 mystifying letters to him. However, not long after, there came the sudden announcement that he had become critically ill. Swami Akhandananda prepared to leave at once for Calcutta. The next day, April 11, when he was about to depart, he received a telegram with the news that the great Swami had passed away. He immediately took off his shoes and walked to the station barefoot to catch the train. He reached Bellarmont just as the funeral pyre was ignited. After the demise of Swami Brahmananda, it was left for Swami Shivananda to console the bereaved hearts of the devotees. On 2nd May 1922, he was elected president of the Ramakrishna order, and Swami Akhandananda was elected vice president. One by one in quick succession, the disciples were departing, each having finished his role in the divine sport of the Master's advent. Now one more was about to leave the stage. Swami Akhandananda had written to a devotee, "It's almost a year since Hari Maharaj has lain like Bhishma on his bed of arrows. He had another operation. It gives me some consolation to hear He had no fever yesterday. It is a time for landslides. I do not know what more the Master wills. Before 3 months had passed, the condition of Hari Maharaj, Swami Turiyananda, began to deteriorate, causing great anxiety at Varanasi where he was staying. In July 1922, Swami Akhandananda set out with fruits and medicines from Swami Sardananda to visit the companion of his boyhood and his sadhana. As Swami Akhandananda was entering the room of Hari Maharaj, he heard him say to those present, "None of you mind what I say, just leave me alone." With overflowing love, Swami Akhandananda took up the thread of conversation and asked, "Brother, have I not paid heed to your words, even from my boyhood?" When Swami Turiyananda saw him, he was full of joy and replied, "Yes, you have." While Swami Akhandananda remained with Hari Maharaj at Varanasi, he sat by his bedside every day reading to him from the Holy Scriptures, the Chandi, the Gita, and the Upanishads. On July 21, as Swami Akhandananda entered the room, Hari Maharaj said, "Good morning. Today is my last day. Just say, we are mothers. Mother is ours." In the early afternoon, after the large carbuncle on his back had been dressed, Swami Akhandananda told him, "Try to sleep." "That is what I want," the Swami replied. After a little rest, he said, my Lord, Om Ramakrishna, my soul." It was just sunset. Swami Akhandananda was sitting beside Hari Maharaj, reciting shlokas from the Upanishads. Swami Turiyananda was pleased and said, "Help me to sit up." When he was upright, he began to chant, Haranam, 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 Namoeva Kevalam. The name of Hari, God, is the only resort. Glory to the Guru, glory to Ramakrishna. Brahman is true, the world is true, everything is true. Life is based on truth, and now it takes its departure. Swami Akhandananda once took up saying, Satyam Jnanam Anantam Brahma. Brahman is the truth, the supreme knowledge, the infinite. Say on, said Hari Maharaj. Swami Akhandananda continued, Prajnanam Brahma. Brahman is consciousness. Completely satisfied, Hari Maharaj said, that's enough. With these words, the life breath left his body, and Swami Turiyananda was immersed in the highest samadhi. The temple bells rang for arati. The sannyasins of the ashram sang a song of beatitude. See, yonder is the home of bliss. And after attending the special puja and feast, which is customary after the passing of a saint, Swami Akhandananda returned to Sargachi, where he gave a vivid account of the final departure. He commented, extremely rare is such a passing in full consciousness with Brahman before one's eyes. And I think we'll stop there for today. Next week we will be doing visits to health resorts. Are there any questions or comments on what was read today? Pretty self-explanatory and pretty well explained. The lecture this Sunday will be Embrace Change with Swami Yogananda from Trabuco. If I'm not mistaken, he's just recently returned from India, so he'll be up here. It's been quite a while since we've seen him. And we will have the Saturday reading of the Gospel of Sri Ramakrishna at 5 o'clock. Is it Friday or is it Saturday? So I hope to see all of you. Okay. Om Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. Hari Om Tat Sat Sri Ramakrishna Arpanamastu.